I think the Niners need a starting center. Jake Brendel was actually surprisingly good. You got to give the Niners credit. We hadn't heard of him. He was an undrafted free agent. He was hanging around on the bench on practice squads. All of a sudden, the Niners turned him into a 17-game starter and a Pro Bowl alternate. That is legendary. And now I think he's deserves to cash in. So he's probably looked at as a quality starter, and he might just get a multi-year deal. I don't see the Niners giving it to him. And if they do, God love them. But if they don't, how do you think they're going to replace him? Internally, draft, free agency.
So here's one of the Jimmy Ward and Jake Brendel are the two guys that I would spend money on. I feel like Jake Brendel can play any position on the line. He could play center, guard. He could play right tackle if they had to. I want them to re-sign Jake Brendel, and not necessarily to be the starting center next year. Maybe it's Nick Zakelj. Maybe it's Sam Poe. I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, Jake Brendel's a way better athlete than Zakelj. Nothing against Poe, but Poe's 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they plan on developing one of those guys. Maybe they draft a center, but I think to me, if you're going to spend on the offensive side, you spend it on Jake Brendel. That's what I would do. He's
a better player than McGlinchey, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. If they re-sign Jake Brendel, I wouldn't be against it. I think he's a solid center, but I don't know that they have the money for it. I mean, maybe they do. If they don't, I think that they could draft a center. It feels like at pick 99, there could be a couple guys who probably could be plug and play and might even be upgrades over Jake Brendel. I'm thinking Luke Whippler out of Ohio State.
They have great centers in this draft, but I'm going to make an argument here on the next position to why I want to get Brendel.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
To me, like maybe a hold off, but I know the center position is really important. But the next position we're going to be talking about to me is the most important need for the 49ers this year, and that's why I don't want to spend my first.
If the Niners change their philosophy and say, you know what, we don't spend enough on our offensive line, because historically, since Lynch has been here, they've spent 15% of their cap roughly on offensive line and 20% on their defensive line. Other teams spend up to 25%. I mean, Philly, Detroit, those are like really expensive offensive lines, and the Niners aren't in that stratosphere. Maybe the Niners are like, you know what, we got to change our whole approach and spend more. If that's the case, then they'll sign Brendel. They could go sign a starting right tackle. But if they don't, man, if you only allocate 15% of your cap to the offensive line, and you're spending like 11 to 12% of that on Trent Williams, but you can't sign anyone else. It's all guys on rookie deals. So if that's the case, then Brendel, goodbye. McGlinchey, goodbye. Brunskill, and it's all guys that they draft. So that I think they drafted 2 last year, Burford and Zakelj. They could draft 2 more this year. They could be drafting 2 every year just because they can't afford to spend on it anymore, which is too bad.
You know, if they're gonna draft a center, I would prefer it to be. I'm so excited for the next position, Grant, because here's what I feel like they have to do. Like you got Trent Williams, you got Aaron Banks, solid shit. If you resign Brendel, you're solid at center, and you got 2 guys that maybe can compete to work up to compete with Brendel, like a Poe or a Zakelj. I don't know why everyone loves Zakelj so much. I didn't see anything.
I'm sorry. He's not that. He was a left tackle. He's never played center, and he's not a premium athlete. The centers I like in this draft there's 3, and I think the Niners could draft all of them. Luke Whippler from Ohio State, Oluwatimi from Michigan, and Ricky Stromberg from Arkansas. Luke Whippler just destroyed the combine. He was the fastest center there. I think he'd be a hell of a player. Ricky Stromberg didn't run. He didn't do the shuttle stuff, but he's good too. Look for his pro day. And Oluwatimi from Michigan didn't run. He was slow, but he didn't do the shuttle stuff. Look for him. Whippler from Ohio State, I think he'd be there at 99. I think he'd be a hell of a player.